It was. It really was. Hey, everybody, it's your girl VJ. I'm here for another episode of the Ultimate Career Leap. Gonna go make sure you guys are seeing a notification. All right, I got notified we're live. Did you get the notification as well on your phone?
All I see is that I'm in the show. We are.
Look on your phone. You should see that you should see the notification that I went live on LinkedIn.
Yes, I do see the notification.
So
Absolutely.
just click into it and then you'll be able to see any comments that come up. So hey, welcome. Wait a minute, just let a couple of people get on, and then we'll start tonight's episode of the Ultimate Career Leap. Hopefully we won't have any more technology issues.
And if we do, we'll just roll with it.
We will roll with it. Yep, if you end up dropping off, just click right back in. So hey everybody, this is Wendy Perdomo, and we're both actually career coaches. I consider myself a strategist as well as a coach, and she is an executive leadership and life coach.
Yeah, indeed, I am.
Yes. She's also a fellow New Yorker. New Yorkers in the house. Ooh, ooh.
Yes, from Harlem.
So Wendy, go ahead and introduce yourself. We got some people coming on. People, as you come on, just say hi so I know you're there. Thanks.
So before I introduce myself, I want to first thank you, VJ, for this community and for creating a platform for all of us that are consultants, that are coaches, that are teachers, that are sort of manifestors in this world, to really speak and bring about these nuggets of wisdom on the work that we do. From an introduction standpoint, again, my name is Wendy Perdomo, and I'm an executive leadership and life coach. And I support professional women, primarily work with women of color with becoming crystal clear on their ideal career, on their ideal business, so that they can live a bigger, bolder life, which I know is going to be part of the theme of today's discussion. I also just started this really wonderful series called let me write it. Let me say it right. Bold Women of Color Take Action Now, Secret Supper. And I started that as part of, I felt like there was a need for us to connect in person. There's so much like this work that we're doing right now virtually. We are so sensitized to being online and sort of connecting to the social media. And I think as women of color, we have sort of our set of challenges and needs, and we need to create safe spaces, and they're not always available to us in the workplace and or even sometimes in our homes. And so I've created this wonderful opportunity for us to come together, and it's only 15 women. I have an opportunity to talk to each of those women before they come into the room. And it's a chance for us to really understand what you're up to this year, what is it you're trying to manifest, and then do some laser coaching. And I see myself more as a facilitator. So those women who are in the room are also curating the space and also being part of the contribution of the conversation. And so the very last one we had was a hit. We had tons of resources that came out of the conversation. So I'm doing them every other month. The next one is March 26th in New York City. And I'm taking this on a show, right? Like I'm going to be going to different boroughs. So I'm excited about that. So if anyone on the call is interested in participating in that, we'll talk a little bit about how they can reach out to me thereafter. And then last but not least, I'm also working as the executive director at this national nonprofit called New Leaders. They do amazing work around leadership development and training school principals, district superintendents, just leaders overall in the educational space. And so I oversee all of their executive coaching, their performance management, their internal training related to anything and everything that has to do people related, communications, management training. So I've been with them for 5 years. And so I've got a robust docket of things in my life. And I'm so excited to be here today connecting with you and the callers. I mean, not the callers, the participants. So
nice. So we've got Sean said hey. So that's
Sean.
And Kenny from Sugarland, Texas, just southwest of Houston. And he is originally from Harlem.
Awesome. Whereabouts? I grew up on 152nd between 7th and 8th. Ask him to see whereabouts in Harlem is he from. Let's see if he really knows.
He'll answer. Kenny will definitely answer.
Awesome.
Kenny, he's definitely somebody I've met on LinkedIn in another community. And he's definitely somebody I would love to meet in person. Hi, Ahmed. Thank you for joining. So you'll start to see more people coming in. And oh, we're also live on Facebook. So if anybody's watching on Facebook, I'm going to try to make sure we don't miss your comments as well.
Awesome. Facebook Tribe. All right.
Yes,
So what questions do we have out here?
Well, I'm going to start asking a question first, and then they can jump in with some questions. So we're basically almost at the end of February, right? Somehow it's like the longest month to kick off the year, and then February is like boom, and next thing you know, it's March.
Yeah.
Some people set resolutions, some people set goals, some people set plans or strategies for the year, and some may have already kind of fallen off a little bit from where they wanted to be. What would you say to them to get them back on track?
Yeah. So right around this time is when the sort of those New Year's resolutions start to look less shiny. And so I think one of the things that I would suggest is first is this thing around in the coaching realm, we talk about what's your what for? And by that, I mean, like, what's this goal or that vision that you're trying to manifest in service of, right? I think sometimes we do things or we say we're going to do a New Year's resolution, and then it starts to lose its allure for a number of reasons. Either we don't have it front and center, we're not honoring that vision or goal. And so what is it why are you doing this? What's the call for? What is the like thinking about what you're going to become or what you're going to manifest? What does that look like? And I think I've heard you talk about that. Be super specific, explicit. How are you honoring that, right? Like, are you writing about it? Are you actively doing something every day to move that goal forward? Do you have a vision board? Do you have an accountability structure? Like, people will set down goals, but then they don't have anything behind the goal, like an action plan to actually manifest it. And so that's where the disconnect comes in, right? Like, people have they look at goals as ideas, and an idea will come up, it'll generate, right? But then if you don't actually sit down to do the work, and what does that work look like for you? Right. You know yourself more better than I do. So you know what your challenges are. You know what some of your setbacks have been in the past when you're trying to manifest a goal. You know what some of the stops have been. And sometimes there are stuff that we talk about, which are called blind spots, right? You may not know, which is where a coach comes in and sort of helps to create some awareness or curiosity. But that said, I think people have to get really present to what's the what for, like, why are you doing this? Right. And then beyond that, what are the accountability structures? What are the people in your inner circle that are going to help support you? What are you doing daily? And so I think when you don't have those things in place, that is why those goals tend to sort of fall to the wayside. And then here they come up again, year 2021, it's the same thing, because you didn't put something in place during those first weeks of sort of even identifying that goal in order to move it forward. And so all is not lost. I would say all is not lost. One of the things I encourage people to always do is pick up where you left off. Like, I think there's this mindset that if I didn't do enough towards this goal, or I haven't sort of, done significant work around it, like throwing out the baby with the bathwater, but it's not that. It's figuring out where can you jump back in and what can you do now to continue to activate yourself and get inspired to move that sort of vision and goal forward.
Gotcha. So Kenny did answer and said his last address in Harlem was on 1st Ave and 108th Street. Hey. All right. I see we got Aretha and Carissa both watching. That's my sister-in-law, my niece. I remember. Yes. How are you? Wendy and I have the same business coach, and that's how we met. And we had a mastermind in Paris, and I had some of my family with me, my sister-in-law, my niece, and a few others were with us. And Wendy got to hang out with us. So that's how I connect. And let's see who else popped in. Hannah popped in. Hey, Hannah.
Hey, Hannah.
She just popped in to say hi. She said she's on the move today and catch up later. Okay.
All right, cool.
Yes. So having like that accountability, really, really good and really important.
The structures are so important.
Yes. Sometimes people just are so caught up in, look, I made my goals, I made my resolution, I made my vision board, but you didn't make no plan to execute.
Right.
Like, I have this new thing now of my, OSPE, organize, strategize, plan, execute.
Nice. Okay, you got for it.
Right. So this way, you know how to move forward, right? You got to know what you're going for. You have to be able to see what it is you need to get there, right? You can't say, okay, I want to go to law school and then don't go look at law schools. You got to put that work in. So
Right.
like you said, like, you know, where you need help, and then fill in those gaps where you need help. You know, definitely get an accountability partner, get another group of like-minded people to be like, I feel like you need two inner circles. Like you need that inner circle that's maybe like your personal life. Because sometimes those people don't understand your other journey, right? Especially if you're an entrepreneur. Your non-entrepreneurial friends don't get it. They're like, why don't you just go get a job? You know,
Right.
like stress yourself out. So they don't understand that piece. If you're climbing up higher in the ranks of your career than some of your other friends, they won't understand your pressures either. So if you're hitting C-suite, you still need like some C-suite level friends who understand your level of stress, right?
Absolutely.
And your personal friends who understand your personal stress. So I feel like it's a good mix.
I agree with you 100% there. And I also think it's about sort of figuring out. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
The other piece that, like, as you were talking, that struck a chord for me is that you have to be able to understand what you can go to certain people for, right? So to your point, if you're an entrepreneur and a lot of your friends may not be, then what type of support can they provide? What's the type of support that you can expect from them, because that's not an area of expertise for them. So perhaps it's maybe active listening, but you're also creating a social network for yourself where you're finding individuals who are able to mentor, to inspire, to counsel, to sort of push back. Another big piece in sort of this guide that I've created around making sure that you stay active on your goals is understanding, is finding your tribe and really finding who are the eagles in your circle, who are the people who are really inspired to see you grow, move up, escalate, and are going to push you and not going to yes you to death. You don't need that another person in your life. And then also understanding that as you move up, whatever goal you're sort of working toward, there are people sometimes I call polluters. And those are the people who are, you got to be careful to have around you, right? Because they're going to, when you start to talk about, I'm giving up on this, or I don't want to do this, or I'm tired, or, you know, I had a bad day at work, or whatever the circumstances that come up, because we all have circumstances that can take us out the game, right? And colluders may collude with you, right? And feed that aspect, that self-sabotaging behavior, which is not going to serve, it's not in service of your higher self and your higher goal. So you've got to sort of monitor, minimize, set aside that group of individuals in service of people who are really going to rally the holy heck out of VJ's ideas, what VJ's trying to manifest in this year, and aren't going to be easily put off by when you start to sort of get out of your, because you get taken out. Like sometimes even your own ideas, and as big as they are, sometimes you see your own doubt, and that's normal. That's normal. Like us who are career coaches and are in the executive realm, we go through our own sort of journeys to try and make sure that we're manifesting, and so we have to ensure we have a level of accountability and support, like you are for me, right?
So Kenny said, I support any peeps who need it, even though I'm not an entrepreneur. I want anyone I know to succeed. And that's great. And that's like a really good attitude. And I have friends like that. Like my friends from high school do not have my level of ambition, right? But yet we still get together and have dinner. We have Friendsgiving, you know, like sometimes they're part of my self-care when I just need to relax, go have fun. You know, I got a group of friends that, you know, all we do is bug out together, you know, and have lots of laughs, and we don't talk about anything serious, you know, or occasionally, but it's just mostly like just good times, you know. And I'm the same way, like as Kenny, like I love to cheer my people on. I always want to see my people winning.
Absolutely. And that's what I said.
If you ask me my opinion, I will give it to you, no sugarcoating. I'm right there with you, Kenny. I am always the friend that you know is going to give you the solid, real advice. I'm not gonna be like, well, you know, maybe you shouldn't have. I'm gonna be like, you was wrong. No, you was wrong for that. Like, yeah, I'm that friend.
Yeah, and we need those. We need those.
Yeah.
And not all people are created like Penny or like a
Right.
Wendy. And so for those that don't have that, I think it's about, like I mentioned earlier, really figuring out what type of supports you can get from certain people. You know?
Right. Right. And then, you know, like, you know, you go out and you meet other people, you have conversations, you know, you network, and you start to build out your circle. So I was talking to a friend earlier, and it's Fashion Week where she lives. And she's like, I'm going to go, but, you know, I'm not really a networker. And I think I'm going to put my fashion thing on hold for now. And I was like, okay, so you're going to wait until you need help to start networking instead of having conversations and meeting people now. So when you're ready and need help, you've already built a relationship.
No.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I was like, so go to the events and meet people. You're not going to network. You're going to meet people. You're going to have conversations. You know,
right.
so caught up in that networking word. They're like, but then you need help. You need to know things. You need to learn and grow from others. And if you wait until you need something, then it's not such a genuine relationship, as opposed to, I've built this relationship with you. We're in totally different realms. But if I need to cross over into your realm, we've already established a rapport. It's so much easier to then now, you know, ask for something that helps you with whatever you're manifesting or whatever is one of your goals. And I think that's a big problem for a lot of people. They wait until they need something to start networking, and then they're like, oh, this networking thing doesn't work. Well, you waited to the 25th hour to start networking and trying to put together something, right? When you should always be developing relationships. And you can learn from people who don't do what you do, who don't look like you, who don't sound like you. You know, like, everybody has a different perspective, and they all have such different levels of learning. Like, I learned so much from my people. It's funny, like, the random things that I know, and I think about, like, how do I know that? And it's like, oh, because of such and such.
Right.
Like, it's just such random little things, you know. Like, I have a friend in Grenada. Every time she comes to New York, she would always look up all the touristy stuff. And you know, as a New Yorker, you don't know the touristy stuff.
And you want to
I didn't know what Tribeca stood for. I had no idea what Tribeca. It's the triangle beneath canal. I just thought it was called Tribeca. I didn't know there was actually something to Tribeca. Okay. And my friend does like one of those hop on, hop off buses, and she told me that. And she said how, you know, she had another friend in New York, and she's like, I told him he wasn't a real New Yorker because he didn't know what Tribeca meant. And I was like, I didn't know what Tribeca was. I thought it just was Tribeca.
Ooh, I think I just learned that one on this call.
Okay. So I learned that too. I learned that maybe like 10 years ago now. But I was like, been in New York my whole life. At that point, I was like, I had never knew that, you know, but I learned that from her because she does all the touristy stuff when she comes to New York. So it's like random little things that you learn from all these people who have different backgrounds from you. And if you build those genuine relationships, when you actually need help, people are so willing to help because you're a friend. You're not this random stranger that just popped up and is like, oh my God, I need all the help in the world. And you're like, I don't even know your name. You know?
Right. Yeah. I love what you're. There are a couple of things that are kind of resonating with me as I hear you talk, and I just happen to write them down. And one of the first things is like the notion around networking and how that can sometimes be outside of our comfort zone. But nothing that you are up to that's big and audacious and just like va boom comes from staying in your comfort zone. So like you said, BJ, you have to put yourself out there. Sort of what's the mindset that you adopt when you go to networking? Just look at it as another event. Don't make it feel like this big, onerous a networking event, but also something that I think we've learned from our business coach, right, is be targeted around when you go to these conversations. Figure out how many people do you want to connect with? How many business cards do you want to walk out of that conversation? And then with networking, anything is all about, yes, the relationship is key, and follow up. If I hear our business say that one more time, follow up is so important, right? And the other thing that also sort of surfaced as a theme when you were talking is when you were saying how my friend, she was going to look at all the sort of places in New York City, and she's out there and sort of figuring out the tourist spots. That possibility is everywhere. Like, we don't know what's going to happen from going to that event. Like yesterday, for instance, I was home and I had a networking event on a Monday. I was like, oh my, you have no idea the motivation and inspiration that I had to galvanize in myself to get out of my pajamas, because I didn't have video calls. I had on pajama pants most days and a sweatshirt, and put on this jumpsuit, this black blazer, this red lipstick, and head down on that West Side Highway down to that networking event in New York City. And it was amazing. I met a ton of wonderful women. And I also created a possibility for me to be the next speaker at the event for the next quarter, right? So had I not gone to that event, that would not have happened. It would just not have happened.
Yes, there's so many opportunities.
You got to put yourself.
Yes, there's so many opportunities to be had when you go to the event that you don't want to go to. Every time I'm going to an event where I'm like, I'm tired, I don't feel like going, I got to take the train, I got to pay to park. Okay. Yes. I live in the suburbs of New York. So for me to get to Manhattan is over an hour in each direction.
Absolutely.
You know, and I mean, if I'm driving, I got to take a snack because you know I'm going to sit in traffic. It's New York. So it's going to be traffic going in. I could even leave at 9, 10, 11 p.m. and still hit traffic going home. So I know it's going to take at least 3 hours of travel time. But then I go and I meet amazing people. And I'm like, yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it. And I mean, maybe once or twice the event was in, so I went and got something good to eat. I made the most of it, right? You know, and I like met somebody amazing in a restaurant. So no matter what, there's always someplace else to go. You know, there's always an opportunity, especially when you're strategic about what you're doing when you're out and about. Mm-hmm. You know, the more you talk to people, you just never know. I mean, that's like I said in one of my other lives, like that's how I got my gig to speak at Tesla. I went to a LinkedIn local meetup in Dumbo. Met this lady. She had beautiful hair. We were talking about her hair. She lived in Long Island too. I gave her a ride back to her car. We stopped at McDonald's. I mean, we talked about life. We talked about, you know, some coaching stuff. And then she asked me to speak for them. Yeah. Be nice. I was just like, well, we're going in the same direction. I know, you know, I'm like, your train's not for like another hour. You might as well get in the car. You know, it's just something that simple. Right. And you know what you're going to, or who you're going to meet, or what opportunities you're going to find. And I think that's how you live a bolder life. If you push yourself past this comfort zone, right? The comfort zone is comfortable, but you got comfortable in that situation. Why can't you get comfortable in another? Like, and
then once you get comfortable there, you got to kick it up a notch because you're constantly elevating. You're absolutely right. That is, it's the possibility. It's moving outside your comfort zone. And the thing that I also want to make sure we sort of don't lose sight of, which you just, you know, beautifully said, was just the relationship aspect of it, like making sure that as you're sort of engaging in these connections and conversations, that you are building a rapport and a relationship, because that is going to help support you and hopefully them. You know, it's reciprocal, right? And I think those are all great things to bring to bear.
Yes. And then, you know, and when you have these conversations with people, even if you start out just on like the professional, it always goes into the personal, right? You're talking about things you're passionate about. You're talking about food. You know, I met Wendy at an event in New York. Right after I had met our coach, and I was like, okay, she was already a client. Let me call her. I was like, you know, you mind if I call you just to ask you some questions? And we had a phone call, and then we would just check in with each other. You know, I'm like, you missed the call. You know, she's like, I know I had to work, what I missed, da da da. And then in Paris, I mean, you know, this, like, we had so much fun in Paris.
We did. We absolutely did.
We were like walking down the street, singing and dancing. We had a good time while we still did our businesses. You know, like you start to build more friendships that are also genuine, and you find that support that isn't always right near you. And so many people are focused on that support from those people that are right there, like, oh, but my friend from 3rd grade doesn't support me, and oh, second cousin so-and-so doesn't support me. Who cares? Focus on who does support you, right? It's just, if you feel unloved by your spouse or your family, but you got a ton of friends who love you to death, focus on them. Like, focus on where you're appreciated instead of worrying about who doesn't, right? Cheer hard for your people and they cheer hard for you. And it's like such a, I don't know, like, I think for me, that's how I've gone from dream chasing to dream catching. I was just like, I'm just going to support people at the level I want to be supported. And I just got really focused and determined, you know, like when you said yes to yourself, you invest in yourself. And when you make that level of determination, nothing stops you.
No.
You know, like we talk about this often where it's like, all right, what's the plan? What's the strategy? Because I'm here, but I want to be here. And I'm tired of being here. Like I've been here too long. Let's get to here. You know, decide what's that too long for you. Some people stay right here for like a month and they're like, that's too long. I got to move. And some people stay like this for 35 years. So it just depends on what's movement for you. But, you know, I think that's the only way you kind of get to move. Right?
And the other way to move is to recognize that, you know, you can't do it alone, right?
Yes.
Like I think we are underscoring a lot in today's conversation, relationships, moving outside of your comfort zone. The other thing is when you're trying to live a bigger, bolder life and sort of up to some big goal is that you require support. And it's okay to ask for it. It's okay to have a need, and it's okay to strategically figure out who are the people, like I said before, who can support you on this journey, right? Like for a long time, you know, I still have a hard time with this because I do a lot. But I would literally wear my Superwoman cape and I'd be like, listen, I don't need nobody's help. I got this, I got this, I got this. But when you are a single mom like I am, and you are up to so many different things, you do need to leverage your tribe. You need to leverage your community, those relationships. And to your point, BJ, those people who are in your inner circle who want to see you win. And so I think I can underscore enough around sort of living a bigger, bolder life is also staying in community with individuals who are going to be able to support that manifestation of that dream or that vision, that goal, whatever it is. We just can't do this by ourselves. And I think sometimes we fool ourselves into doing that. And I find that in my practice, particularly when I work a lot with women of color, because we're so used to doing it all, it's almost hard to not to be like, I got this, I don't need you. And so, but when someone is extending support to you and is willing and is able to sort of shepherd some of that burden with you, because, you know, sometimes I got you is just a facade for, I really need help, I just don't know how to ask for it.
That's very true.
Let them. Please be open to receive. Ladies, please be open to receive, because there are people out there that are willing and that are adept and skilled at it and can help move the pendulum forward, or that sort of vision and goal forward, or close the gap on that space that you were talking about, BJ. So I think that's another big important part. I think key ingredient around this bigger, bolder life piece.
Yes, that's true. That accepting the help, asking and accepting the help. Yes, when you're a strong person, I get that. I understand that well. Like at times, I hate to ask for help, but then you have to ask for help and go ask for help. You know, and like the friend that had the whole fashion week thing, she's like, "You're killing me. Ask for help when you need help." You know, so you know, somebody else that's there who can say, like, you know, you need the help. Go ask for the help. You know, you can only take yourself but so far anyway.
Yeah.
You need a coach, and why coaches have a coach, and their coach has a coach, and their coach has a coach.
That's right. It is a domino effect.
Yes, because if you're trying to get to a certain point, you can't get to a point that you know nothing about by yourself, because you don't know what you're missing to get there, right? And if you're trying to go from middle management to senior management, you need to know those steps in between. You need a sponsor in your organization. You need an advocate. You maybe need a mentor too, right? You need the thing.
Oh my God, you know,
like sometimes people focus only on one little aspect of it, but like you have to really understand, what do you need? And sometimes you have no clue. Right? You know, if you ever been stuck at a job and you're like, I don't understand why I'm not moving forward. People go over me, but I don't understand why I'm not moving forward. And until you go ask, and then somebody's like, oh, but they're all certified in this and you're not. And you're like, well, heck, I could have went and got the certification. Why didn't nobody tell me? But you didn't know that.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know. So you always have to have somebody above you that can guide you a little bit, or at least tell you their journey, so you can see, okay, so here are some of the steps. I mean, you're not going to walk the same path as somebody, right? You know, especially with the youth, they need to understand that a lot. Like, even though you see your parent, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins doing something, you don't have to run that same race. You don't need to you're in lane 3 or 4 or 5. You don't have to be in lane 2 also to get the same destination. Right? Figure out what's your race and run your race. Like you can't run hurdles on a 4x100. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's not a hurdle, you can't be running hurdles. So you have to know what you need to do, but just know that it's not going to be the same exact stories, the same exact steps.
And to your point, another thing that just pops up in my head as you were talking was this notion around, I call it comparatitis. Like it's like the like and the world we live in right now cultivates that a lot, right? Because by virtue of social media, we get to see what everybody has from a success standpoint, but not where everybody has failed. And not a lot of people are vulnerably sharing that, right? Like, or saying, or that part of that recipe for success is the zigzag lines. In fact, Gary Vee today put up a post on LinkedIn around sort of what success looks like. And it's not a straight line. And I've used that in a lot of presentations. It's very squiggly. And he was like, you need to expect that, right? And so oftentimes we are so mired in this sort of comparing ourselves to someone else. We don't know what their journey was. We don't know how they got there. We don't know their start line is our finish. If our finish is their start, we don't know anything. And so it is so important. And that's another way that we get taken out, like by virtue of like, we're trying to create a goal. We're like, oh, I should be this further ahead. I should be here. I should be there. You should be exactly where you are right now. Forgive yourself and give yourself the grace of whatever has happened in the past, and think about where can I do right now from this moment forward, right? From this moment forward. So that notion around comparing yourself to someone else, to whatever, to their success, to their journey, to what they have and what they don't have, that's something we have to be able to set aside as individuals, because that comparison is not going to help move your vision forward. It's just going to have you marinating on things you don't know, or a narrative you don't know about another human being, right? And so
that is so true. Even when you can read somebody's story, people still be like, "Oh, well, they got lucky. I'm not lucky." Right. Told you they just came out the gutter, and you still like, but they got lucky. Like,
yeah. So put the
that's a really great point. The comparison thing, I think. You know, what is it like? You see the iceberg at the top, but you don't see everything that's going on at the bottom. Or like, you know, you see the duck in the water and it looks like he's going smooth, but you don't see them little legs just paddling away. You know, everybody has their story. Everybody's journey is different, you know, and you just kind of learn and encourage from each other's journeys. Yes, you have to ask for help, but ask the right people for help who have your best interest at heart.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. That's definitely one of the things I say. You gotta know who's in your inner circle that is willing and ready and able and wants to see you win. Right? Yes. I absolutely think there's something to be said about targeted assistance.
Yes. So you guys see why I wanted Wendy to come on, right? She's pretty dope. This is why I hang out with Wendy. We have conversations like this.
You are too. That's why we keep each other as accountability partners, right? Like we keep each other honest about what we're up to. And it's important to have something like this because, like I said earlier, when we're up to big things in life, the easy thing is to sometimes say, like, I'm not cut for this, or not now, or subscribe to a someday story, or I need further education, or, you know, a few more years. That's a lot of what has us in the start and stop mentality. And I find that oftentimes, particularly in the workplace with women, one of the things that I see is that oftentimes, and we were just talking about this at the last Secret Supper, women will work really, 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 really hard and want to be noticed. And then in terms of men will just ask, they will advocate. And so the thing that I think, going back to our theme of sort of living a bigger, bolder life and figuring out, you know, if you're in that realm of like feeling stuck, is like, what can you do from an advocacy perspective to really move yourself forward? You also spoke earlier around mentors and sponsors and people who know who may know how to sort of navigate the waters that you have to sort of charter differently. And so how do you leverage them in your life? How do you sort of get to connect with them, which is what I think Candace is saying. Right now, I'm reading this book called The Memo. I'm not finished it, but it is around what women of color need to know to secure a seat at the table. It's a For Us by Us. I highly recommend it. One day I will be writing my own book. Sitting here on the Ultimate Career Leap, hold me accountable.
Yes.
But there are tons of good nuggets in there, ladies,
Right.
even gentlemen, but it's mostly for the ladies. In terms of how do we navigate the spaces we need to navigate in order to sort of move up in our careers.
Right. I always talk to
it's a big part of it. It's a big part of it.
Right. I always tell people, you need your career board of directors where you have your mentors, accountability partners, your sponsors, and your advocates.
Yeah.
And go back and check out my posts. I did like a 3 or 4 video series about sponsors because people are really confused about what a sponsor is. They think a sponsor is a mentor. And I'm like, no, your sponsor may not spend anywhere near amount of time with you as your mentor does. Your sponsor be somebody in upper management that just notices you.
Right.
Somebody with power who knows when opportunities come in and they can open that door for you. Whereas a mentor, depending on what level your mentor is at, they might not be able to open the door. They might be able to bring you to the door, but it's the sponsor who's like, come here, I got the key, and opens the door.
And help coach. The mentor may also help you coach through a conversation. Here's the thing you say. Here's the mentoring component, right? Like
right. And some sponsors don't do that. Sponsors really are just like, I know opportunities and I see what's going on. I see you got a mentor. I see you working with a career coach. I see you have an accountability partner. I see you raising your hand for opportunity. So here's some opportunity because I saw you raise your hand with your boss, but you know what? There's an even bigger project going on and I want to see what you can do.
Right.
So understanding that, I think, is really helpful for people to know how to move their career forward, especially people of color, because most places don't have a good management pipeline that is diverse. Mm-hmm. These companies, you go on their website, go check out their executive leadership team. I always go through and I'm like, okay, women, let me go back. How many are not white? Right. So you got a total of 6 combined that are not white males. Mm-hmm. So, like it's like you have to, if you pay attention to those things, that's how you move yourself a little more forward, with higher up in your career too. So I'm always like, be strategic, increase your visibility. That's one of the things I teach my clients. Like, we got to increase your visibility, work hard and keep your head down and you'll get noticed. That hasn't worked since like 67. So let that go. Let it go.
It works at 67.
I mean, think about it. A lot of us are holding on to ideals and values that were taught to us from people from a different generation that were 3-4 generations back. The world has changed. Mm-hmm. Some grandma and great grandma taught us are still valid. Some don't apply anymore. Mm-hmm. Changed. They would just be housewives. You don't have to just be a housewife as a woman anymore. Right?
Absolutely not.
Just go from high school and go work at the factory. Like, you can do so many more things. Like, it's just so much more going on now. And understanding like certain values still apply, but certain little things they're just not valid anymore. Right? They just don't think just because you work hard, you should get such and such. If everybody around you is working hard, what makes you special? How are you, putting yourself out there to get noticed? You just think hard and I should get noticed. Once again, 67, that's when that stopped working.
Right. And other thing I from the work that I do in the nonprofit realm, that I also sort of, because I'm one person, I just bring, whenever I'm coaching with someone, I bring whatever experiences I have. And what I don't have, I'm also happy to share and let them know, this is a resource you might look at because I might not be the expert in this, or be able to, the best person to give you guidance. But the other thing I think is important is help your manager help you.
Yes.
help your manager help you. Like, I think, managers are not mind readers. They don't always know what your career goals and objectives are, although they should be working closely enough with you to see what your strengths are, what your areas of growth are, and sort of be able to guide and sort of help provide opportunity, stretch assignments, whatever sort of the sort of panorama is within the context of that workplace in order to help you with your career trajectory. But help your manager help you. And that, again, is where that advocacy comes in, right? It's important for you to be able to share what are some of the dreams that you have as it relates to your career. Do you want to be leading this team that I am leading right now in, 5 or 6 years? And then if you want to do that, then, what are the things you have to do to start to build the management experience, leadership experience? When was the last time you said something in a meeting? So if you really, that's another piece.
Yes.
A lot of work around voice, and that's that advocacy and bold and living a bigger, bolder life. And people who are on the call who are like introverts are like, oh my God, how do we do this? But there's a way to do this where you're not, like feeling, oh my God, you're stripping me of who I am as my identity, but you're also sort of figuring out a way that is getting you to be noticed more, figuring out the opportunities. It could be smaller like circles where you're sort of speaking and like getting a sense of like people need to hear what it is you have to say. Right.
So, people confuse being an introvert with being this quiet and shy and I can't open my mouth person. Like it isn't.
Sometimes it's not that. It's
It's about your energy.
Right.
So you just have to protect your energy. There's so many, millionaires out there that are introverts. So you can't use that as an excuse. Like, no, you just have to understand how you work.
Right.
And like you said, with
and being introvert.
Right. Like, and with your managers, I think a lot of people expect their managers to push together their career trajectory. But if you're a mid-level manager, you're doing way more than just worrying about your employees. Right. Mm-hmm. A lot of times in some companies, senior managers push their work down to middle managers. Mm-hmm. So, like I've been a middle manager where it's like, wait, I'm like running everything. And then I still have to mentor and do this and do this and do that. So yes, somebody's going to slip through the cracks. If you don't come to me and tell me, hey, VJ, I need this, or even just letting a manager know what's your management style. Everybody doesn't have the same style, right? No, everybody does not need to be micromanaged. There are some people who do, but there are a lot of people who don't.
Right.
Knowing like what's the style that works for you when you communicate with your manager, no matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert, that's important too. So if you need to talk one-on-one with your manager and know, okay, I'm an introvert, but I need like a small, quieter space, then you book smaller, quieter time. If you're okay with talking in front of the crowd, then you talk in front of the crowd, like just understanding what really works for you. And if you're at the point of being like a higher manager, on the advocacy side, what are you doing to help bring somebody up? Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Like, are you increasing your level of influence at work? Is that something you want to do? Do you want to have enough influence to be like, okay, we keep talking about diversity and inclusion, but we're not living it. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people get closer to retirement when they're ready to start having those conversations because they're scared the rest of the way up. Mm-hmm. If you're bold enough, you can always ask that. If you're at a high enough point where you're sitting at bigger tables to be like, so when are we going to stop using D&I as the buzzword and really start to live it? Mm-hmm. When are we going to actually put together a talent pipeline? How about I work on looking up some people who can come in to help us put that together? Mm-hmm. What do succession plans look like? Like I'm actually giving a talk with Disrupt HR on March 11th about I'm calling who's on deck, and it's like building your succession plan using sponsorship, right? Because a lot of people feel like I'm training my replacement, not realizing you can have a succession plan for when you get your next promotion, not just because you're retiring or you're going to get kicked out the company. It's like everybody's just like right here. But if you can move up and have somebody ready to go in the next spot, you're showing so much leadership potential right now. Is ridiculous, especially if you're in the C-suite. If somebody C-suite is like, wait, we got a middle manager who's already got a succession plan. Like, I don't have a succession plan. I don't know who's going to take over when I step down, and I'm the CFO. It's something. Like it's just really understanding like what's my level of influence and power, and what do I want it to be? Because for some people, that's what they want. right? They want to have that level of influence so that they can advocate to get more people hired to have a diverse workforce. So for you watching, like, is that something for you? If anybody's at that level, are you trying to increase your level of influence, your sphere of influence? Like, what do you want in your career that one of us could help you with right now? Like, you got a chance to get some free coaching from 2 coaches, free. Male or female, okay? Male or female. Like,
let me just, and the other thing I wanted to say around what you were referring to right now, BJ, is the notion that also the organizations that, the organization has to also be one where they're cultivating an environment of that type of advocacy, and or are creating systems and structures aligned to that succession planning, right? Like, it's not just about, I'm going to raise my hand and speak, and sure, you can be one of the first people to sort of start to shepherd this. But sometimes one of the things we see in organizations is that environmentally or culturally, you being the person to sort of advocate or speak, or it's not always it's not always accepted.
Yeah, I've been that person. I know.
It's not always accepted. It's not always embraced. It's not always welcomed. And so, what do you do when that happens? And that's where choice comes in at play, right? What you have around staying in an environment where you necessarily don't feel that your voice is being valued, acknowledged, and or elevated, and or you're not getting the right opportunities to move up, or and what opportunities might you be able to pursue if this is no longer a place that serves you? And I think we sometimes stay longer than we should with our breadth of experience, with our 15, 10, 12, because our little self-doubt sometimes starts to creep in and try to make it seem like it's not so bad, might not be, the grass is greener, maybe here, and I don't know what I'm going to find out there. All that, again, I refer to a self-sabotaging sort of thought process that keeps us small versus walking away from something that does not serve, and you're seeing the evidence of it, right? Like, there's a pattern. There's like, it's not a one and done. There's constant sort of evidence throughout the way you interact with individuals or culturally that are coming up that you're noticing are not a place for you to grow and glow.
Right. And then also, like, it depends on, a lot does depend on what your future goals are. Like, I've been in hostile work environments before, right? I've been there, done that. It didn't faze me because I always knew I wanted to work for myself. So if I worked someplace and it wasn't the best environment, I was the only, and I've been the only Black person, the only woman, the only Black woman. I've been the only Black person on my side of the building. Like, I've been that. And even like, it didn't even faze me because I've also went to school where everybody looked like me, and I went to school where nobody looked like me. So that just, after a while, it didn't faze me. Most of the time I would be like, okay, so I need to pay off these few bills and then I can leave, or this is a level of experience I need to do what I want to do. But there was a clear plan, like 2 years max and I'm gone, or 3 years max and I'm gone, right? Because I knew this wasn't my end goal. I knew I did not want to make somebody else rich for the rest of my life. So, if you understand, like, all right, I know what my limitations are. I know what I can deal with. Because I definitely had a boss that was pushing me, and I was like, I'm right here. This is all I left, this much. And if things don't change, I'm gone, because I liked everybody I worked with. I was fine with the work. I just did not like my boss. So I just got to the point where, honestly, for about 2 months, I avoided her. It was great because her office was like around the floor. So I really could avoid her for 2 months, only pop up and see her in the one meeting and like sit behind a big guy like this so I wouldn't be seen.
Not everybody could do that, VJ. You know that.
And I know that because I had other environments where I couldn't do that because I was like, okay, there's only like 5 of us on the team. You can't hide.
No.
So, you do have to figure out, like, what's my limitation and what can I do next? And then don't let it, I think people stay in situations because of risk. Everybody's afraid to take a risk. They think, but this is stability. Yeah. Let the economy tank and see how stable your job is.
Right.
2008 recession in their same job. A lot of people got laid off in 2008 because of the recession, or 2009. So, like, there's really no such thing as job stability the way we think it is. but we use it as an excuse to chain us to a place we hate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and that's part of that sabotage you were talking about.
Sabotage, and and it's to your point, like once you start to see some of those signs that no matter what you've done and no matter how much you've tried, it doesn't seem to be a place, it still continues to be toxic. Then I think it's about, considering what's your exit strategy, like how long is going to be your ability to sort of work in an environment, or is tomorrow it? Like those are all things people need to be attuned to. And save. Always put some money aside, because if it really is panning out that this might not be the place for you, then you've got to sort of why continue to tolerate that? I'm just like, and
read the signs, because you'll know. Like I've always known right before I was going to get laid off, the environment, the atmosphere changes, and my spidey sense would tingle, and I'd be like, yeah, let me clean out my desk before they even say anything, so I'm good to go. So Kenny had said earlier, I'm an introvert. From what you see me comment on LinkedIn, you wouldn't think that I am. I definitely didn't know that about you, Kenny. He said, I'm just intense when I have or want to be. So yeah, I could believe, because Kenny's always commenting, but I wouldn't have pegged him for an introvert. So
I mean, he self-defines. I don't know. Like to your point, VJ. Sometimes for me, introvert, like what I understand an introvert is like they monitor their energetic vibration. Like there are times where I need to be alone, and I don't want to be in the space of being around people. And when I want to come out and connect, I will. That I don't know.
But some people think like automatically you're shy. Shy and introvert have been like linked all of a sudden, and it's like, no. Like I was a shy kid, but I was always an extrovert. So Kenny also said, I moved on 4 times on my own. I did not quit. My last move, 5th, at my present company. Now 33 years later, I promoted myself. So Kenny living that bold life. I'm not mad. This is why I like Kenny.
I love it.
Yes. I mean, there's definitely ways to, live a bolder life, and sometimes you just have to take a risk. I was talking to one of my clients recently, and she's trying to figure out her next steps. And one of the things eventually she wants to do is open a business. And she's like, I just don't even know how this could work. And she told me her idea. And I said, well, do you want me to tell you how it could work? And she's like, you figured that out? I was like, yeah. And I ran it down for her, and she was just like, wow. But then she's still like hesitant, because she's still looking for that safety net. And it's like, you're just going to have to at some point take a leap of faith. Safety net. I mean, honestly, what industry has not had layoffs? Teachers have been laid off. Nurses have been laid off. Doctors are struggling. We have a doctor and nurse shortage, but yet there's been plenty of places where they've been fired. So there's really, unless the morgue, if you work for the morgue, you work in a position, that's job security.
The other thing with that client piece, VJ, is that you ran it down for her. Like until she starts to move into the driver's seat on her life and figure that out, it's going to be hard for her to want to so she's going to again, living a bigger, bolder life, take all steps in the direction of what it is she needs to do. Because
and what it was, she needed to see the big picture
of what's possible.
Her to see, because she just, sometimes for people, especially when it comes to their business idea, right? If you're new to business, you're not sure how the pieces work. Well, how do I figure out market, and how do I figure out this, and how do I figure out that? Right. So that's what I helped to show her. And then I was like, now, if that's something you want to do moving forward, we could talk about that, so you can understand what that piece looks like for yourself, and how you can put together a plan while you're still working a job.
Right.
So you know what your long-term plan is, because it was just this theory, and she just,
it couldn't happen. It wasn't possible until you helped to map it out. No, totally.
So, yeah. That's just, for me, like
little by little.
Right. So for me, that's one of my superpowers, is being able, like, if you got a bunch of pieces, I can give you your big picture. If you can see your big picture but don't know the little pieces, I can work it either way. Where you're like, I know this is what I want to do, but I just don't know. Like, I know I need to be doing like these 7 things, but I have no idea what order or what I should be focused on. Like, I can help you figure out, well, maybe this order. or if you do this order, like I give you the options. That's why I'm a strategist, right? That's my thing. I look at different scenarios based. So when something happens, and I don't know, probably from my life experiences, what's made me do this in the last probably decade. Tired of being like sabotaged or just overwhelmed because something happened that, like that unexpected thing that just throws your life upside down. And you're like, wait, what just happened? And it takes you so much longer to get past that because you never saw it coming. And to this point of, you know what, if I strategize from the best situation to the worst situation, I know what to do no matter what happens in this spectrum. So if I have 6 different options and I'm like, okay, so this is what I'm going forward with, and something hits, I'm like, that's strategy number 4. I already know how to move.
Yeah.
Faster. And I realized because that's how I learned to fail faster was by strategizing. And I'd be like, okay, so this happened, that happened, you're running around doing something. And then like financially you're saving, you're doing good. Then your car breaks down. Right. Or, you randomly get fired for financial reasons, right? The company's starting to go under, there's about to be a merger, the economy tanks, I've been through that. Or I got blindsided and got let go on December 23rd one year.
Oof.
Working my tail off. I get called into the office and it's like, boom, didn't see it coming. And at that point, all right, that's it, I'm done. I'm done. But learning how to think the way I now think makes it easier for me. So how I'm going to get through situations. Because somebody asked me recently, like, how do I keep having hope during the hard times? And then, because I'm like, sometimes I just remember the other hard time that I survived. And I'm like, I'll survive this one. And from now I know how to adjust faster. So I've learned to think faster.
Faith. That is work out, and trust that you're going to work out. And your work ethic, VJ. And we know our work ethic. And we know that we are up to some big stuff this year. And so
very big.
Even in the midst of things coming our way, we have faith in each other.
Yeah. Then you have that good support system. You have that when you have a strong will. Like I always say, once you make that determination that this is something you want and you're willing to fight for it, and so I feel like the universe be like, okay, that's what you want. I'm gonna throw an obstacle and see if you're ready for it. Let's see how.
I know, right?
I was just sitting back there watching, like, let me see what you're going to do. Yep, you wasn't ready.
I say that all the time. I'm like, really, universe? That's where my woo-woo comes in. I'm part leadership, part woo-woo, y'all. So I'm just like, are you serious? Like, I just got, I'm just grabbing my footing on this. And now this is going to come my way. And it does feel like sometimes challenges come your way, but that then goes into the book, right? Like I always say to people, when they're really going through a tough time, and they don't seem like they're just like, oh my goodness, I'm at the bottom. I'm like, this is going into your book. This is around this is how you monetize your message. This is part of the pain, and you will make sure that this is a lesson that goes into that book that I will buy and we will promote, because the suffering isn't in vain, and it's going to just make you that much stronger as you sort of continue to sort of on this journey. Because I've seen you've seen things along the way when you start working with people that even sometimes are like, oh, but from a coach mode, you gotta be empathetic, right? But you do have you can connect and be empathetic. People are not there to sort of be enrolled in that story.
Right. And sometimes I feel like the closer you get to that goal, like when it's like you one step away, that's when the chaos comes. And that one step, like that right there. And you like opportunity, like you at the door, but the door's just got like one of them deadbolts on it, and you can't open the door. And that's like the chaos or the universe testing you. But if you get through that, it's like the door swings open.
Right.
You pass the test. It's like, all right, you know what? I made life hard for you for about 3 months because it was easier. And you're like, easier? It was easy before? And you're like, yeah. The universe is like, yeah, it was easy. But now you done passed the rough test. So now I'm going to let you, get some smooth sailing for about 3-4 more years.
Right.
Like,
and
it's true.
It's just mind. It's all in the mind. It's all the mind. perspective. It's
you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. I have this plan. But I think if you don't have that plan B, plan C, I mean, I've lost track of what letter of the alphabet I'm up to on my backup plan. I'm on like the backup plan, subsection D.
It's killing you with that.
But that's why I started to strategize. And I found, for me personally, that was the best thing for me. That helped me not get like crushed because this opportunity didn't happen, because all of a sudden I'm blindsided by something.
Right.
Now, just so much faster and be like, I want this opportunity. So to make it happen, instead of having to start fresh, but okay, well, let me think about it now that I'm in chaos. And when you're in chaos, it is really hard to think strategically in chaos. But strategically, when you're not in chaos, when chaos hits, you're like, that's plan C. And I'm plan C because I thought about what if something similar to this happened. At least I have an approach and I can adjust and tweak.
But what's really gonna blow your mind right now, and sometimes, is that sometimes the chaos is part of the universal plan.
Yes, it is.
Like I said before, there's no smooth sailing through these goals. There's no smooth sailing to get to a bigger, bolder life. They're gonna be challenges, and they're gonna be big, and they might be small. They might be whatever level. It's about navigating. And as we've said on this call, the systems and structures, keeping your eyes on the prize, remembering what your what for is. How are you honoring that vision? Getting support, not doing this alone.
Yes.
And advocacy. I feel like those are a lot of the key themes that you and I have sort of talked about on today's conversation to help people on their journeys.
Yeah. Well, we hit our hour mark. I don't want to keep you. I told you it was going to go by fast. I said my test happened 5 times, passed every time. Look at you, A student Kenny. I see you.
Okay. I haven't been looking at the comments because you have, but when I go back, I'm going to check out Kenny.
Yeah. Anytime you see me look over, I'm basically like looking at comments.
The magnificent Kenny.
Yes. So, what is your website? Because I'm going to stick it in here for people if they want to check you out, follow her, connect with her on LinkedIn.
Yep. So my site is www.coachingwomenofcolor.com. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at Wendy@coachingwomenofcolor.com as well. Is it .com or .org? Yeah, .com. I don't write emails all to myself.
I don't say that as I'm typing it. And put it in the chat for you guys.
.com. This has been fun.
Yes, it has. I'm glad we got to do this. This is my closeout for Black History Month. So I wanted to make sure that we had a good thing, and Wendy's Afro-Latina. So I covered everybody this month. Yeah. A great way to close out and go into Women's History Month next month. But I do have at least one man for a guest.
That's all right. They are allies. They are.
Of course. Yes. Definitely. I love the men's. So Wendy has her secret supper going. If you're in the New York area, want to know more about it, hit her up. Or if for some reason you don't get her last name right or something, message me. I'll connect you over to her. I'm going to be doing a speaker tour, so I'll be speaking around different cities coming up. So look out for that. And I have a couple of, I'm going to do a 4-hour half day career workshop where we're going to talk about taking the ultimate career leap and going from dream chasing to dream catching. So look for that in the city near you. Right now I'm doing that in New York and in Dallas. And I'm working on 2 more cities for that. So wherever I can pull Wendy, I'm going to have Wendy come be a speaker as well too. So
the dynamic.
Yes. I might talk to you about the New York one. Talk about that later. So yes, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you for engaging. And I want to say thank you for being with me on this journey. This is like my 2nd full month of having LinkedIn Live. It's exciting for me. I really didn't think I was going to have my own little show going, but here I am.
You're rocking it out. Keep doing it. It's so necessary.
Yes. I, my thing was making sure I could also highlight other people. I didn't just want to talk to you guys every week for a couple of minutes. I wanted to have meaningful conversations. So I hope you're finding value in it. And thank you.
All right.
Have a great night, everybody. We're signing off.
Bye.